Hi, my name is Brooke, and today I'm going to be doing a podcast over a research question that I came up with and just talking about the interviews that I conducted and their responses, and just talking about those responses and finding similarities and differences with each and individual response, and just kind of summarizing everything up and just talking about the overall process that I went through getting all of this research. So the question that I came up with is, how have female residents living in Talkington adapted to the changes from living at home to now living on their own? I chose this question for a couple reasons. The first one being, I personally have endured a lot of changes moving from home to now living here. For example, just leaving my family and having to do everything on my own has been a big change for me. And coming here with no friends, I've had to make my own relationships with people and just kind of put myself out there, which I'm not used to doing because I am a very introverted person. So it just has always been hard for me to go out there and make my own friends and talk to people. So that has been a big change since coming to college. Another thing would probably be just having to take care of everything myself, like my laundry, my dishes, my meals, and just keeping everything in line because I don't have anybody else to help me do so like I did at home. It is hard being away from my family, but I have learned to adapt to it and just kind of figure things out on my own. So I kind of wanted to have a research question that kind of related to that, because I know I have had a lot of changes that I've had to deal with, so I know a lot of people here have also had to deal with that. And I kind of squared it off to people living in Talkington because living in Talkington is very different than living in a regular dorm with 2 beds in one room, like Stengel, Murdo, Weymouth, just dorms like that, because they don't really get any privacy and they do have to use communal bathrooms. But with living in Talkington, I do get my own room and I just share a bathroom with one person, so I do get quite a lot of privacy. So I kind of just wanted to talk to the people that were living in the same situation that I am, so the responses were more relatable to me and each other. So the first interview that I did was with Emma. She lives across the hall. I met her probably about a month or 2 ago. And so I asked her the research question, and this is her response. Okay, I'm interviewing Emma, and I am asking, how have female residents living in Talkington adapted to the changes from living at home to now living on their own?
I feel like living at home, my mom did my wash for me and made my meals and got us groceries. And so living by myself, I have to do my own laundry and make my own dinner and go to the store to get food and learn how to manage my own time so that my mom doesn't have to remind me what to do and when to do it. And I feel like I've had to time management and learn how to do my own laundry and how to cook and how to use my resources that I'm given to budget what I have to get.
Okay.
I also feel like when I get a certain amount of money per month, I have to see what I want to spend it on and what's important. As when I lived at home, my parents would just give me money if I needed it. And so now I have to see how I want to spend my money and not buy stuff that I don't need. Because if I'm out of money, then I'm out of money, then I'm getting more.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so with Emma's interview, I feel like her response kind of was the most similar to mine and how I feel, because her parents did play a big role in her life in just doing her laundry, like feeding her, and just getting the groceries and such. And that's kind of how I feel, because that all obviously isn't here at Tech. So our responses were quite similar. So I do know how she feels, and I think it is a pretty similar feeling with everybody that lives here. So the next interview I did with one of my roommates, her name is Sydney, and here's her interview. I am here with Sydney, and I'm asking her, how have female residents living in Talkington adapted to the changes from living at home to now living on their own?
Okay, so at home I have one sister, but and at home she's like she's always been really shy her entire life. So I in my family was like the super outgoing one. So living with her, she's just really quiet and she doesn't really talk a lot. But like living in Talkington, I'm surrounded by 3 other girls, and like we hang out a lot with our neighbors. So really like 8, how many is that? 7 or 8 girls, and they're all like super outgoing. And so sometimes it can cause some issues sometimes, because everybody's super talkative and everybody is like super outgoing, and it can just kind of, does that kind of make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's just like, I went from having one sister who was really quiet and not really like talking to her that much, to being surrounded by 8 girls all the time who are always talking and always like wanting to be super outgoing and,
Okay.
just kind of be really loud and crazy.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so her response was a little bit different from me and Emma's, but me personally, I have always been around a crazy family, so kind of being here, it's almost like not as extreme, because living with 3 girls, it really hasn't been as bad as I thought, with like being crazy and being up and just talking all the time, because I have a really outgoing sister, and my parents are also really outgoing, so it wasn't a huge change from being at home to here. But I do agree with her response on how it can be a big change to having a quiet sister to now living in a dorm with 3 very loud girls. So yeah, the next interview is Carson. She lives across the hall as well, and here's our interview. Okay, I'm here with Carson, and I'm asking her, how have female residents living in Talkington adapted to the changes from living at home to now living on their own?
I think definitely one change that I had to deal with was definitely cooking my own dinner and like all my food, and making sure I did feed myself, because every time that I got home, like my food was already sitting on the table ready for me to go. I would eat, then take a shower and just go to bed. Also, another one is just like making sure I get up on time for class and getting ready. And because my mom always like made sure that I was up and was ready to go to class.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Carson's response was very similar in the way that her mom always cooked her dinner, and she didn't really have to worry about a lot of things except just getting home, eating, and kind of just getting ready for bed. But being here, you have to do everything yourself, and that just takes up a lot more time and energy, but it is something that you kind of just have to adapt to. So yeah. The last interview I conducted was with one of my other roommates named Cassidy, and here's her interview. I'm here with Cassidy, and I'm asking her, how have female residents living in Talkington adapted to the changes from living at home to now living on their own?
Okay, the first thing I would say is different is that at home my curfew was at like 10 o'clock every single night, even the weekends, and now I don't have a curfew. Like, I can stay out however late I want. The second thing is probably making food. Like, at home, my mom would usually make dinner every night, and now it's like either I use the microwave or I go to any of the food halls, which is pretty different. The third thing is buying all my own products, like my shampoo and my conditioner and my body wash. Usually my parents would, make their Walmart orders weekly, but now I have to go to the store whenever I run out of all those things. Probably the last thing that's different is that at home I used to share a room with my little sister, so it's kind of nice having my own room and not having to share with anybody anymore. And yeah.
Her interview, I don't relate to as much, but it is something that a lot of people here at Texas Tech relate to, with having curfews and maybe sharing a room with a sibling. But yeah, I mean, I think that all these interviews were pretty logical, and they were all different in their own way, which helped me conduct a lot of good and diverse research. So yeah, so it was pretty easy to get all of this information because I hang out with these people every day, and I just it was just an easy question to ask because they had good responses and a lot to say about it, because it is something that a lot of people do talk about. So I kind of wanted a question that everybody could answer in their own way, and just people wouldn't really have to think too much about their answer. And hearing everybody's responses, it kind of just showed me that people do feel the same way that I do, and people are struggling and dealing with certain things, because sometimes I do feel alone with just kind of being here by myself and just feeling like things are hard. But to hear that people around me feel the same way, it has helped me to feel better and just kind of enjoy my time here more. So with my question that I asked in the beginning and in my interviews, everybody in the interviews were just saying they just kind of were more independent, and they just had to do a lot more for themselves and just had a lot more freedom. And that's basically kind of the broad response that I got from all of these interviews and talking to different people about my question. So yeah, I hope that you got enough information or just was very interested in the question that I came up with, because I really enjoyed doing all the research and interviewing people, because I really liked hearing people's opinions and just everything. So yeah, thank you.